So let's start with the installation first. So first of all, open your favorite browser and search for Visual Studio Code. And the first link which will appear here will be code.visualstudio.com. So I'm going to click on this link. And once you are on this website, you will be able to see this download for Windows option here, or you will be able to see this download button, right? And when you click on this arrow, you will be able to see the download options for macOS, Windows and Linux also. So we just need to click on this download for Windows button, which is going to start the download of this VSCode user setup.exe file. It's around 76 megabyte at the time of making this video. So just wait for the download to complete. And once the download of this exe file is finished, just click on this file, and I'm going to minimize this browser. So first of all, you will see this license terms and agreement window. So if you agree with those license terms and conditions, just click on this I accept the agreement radio button and then click on next. This will be the default location where Visual Studio Code will be installed on your Windows 11 operating system. So if you don't have the good reason to change this location, just leave it as default. Otherwise, you can click on this browse button and then select the location where you want to install Visual Studio Code. I'm going to just click on the next button. Now on this next window, you will see select start menu folder. Just leave it as default, which is Visual Studio Code. And then you can also check this checkbox which says don't create a startup menu folder. And when you check this, it's not going to create a startup menu folder. But I want to create it, so I will leave it as default and then click on next. And here on the next window, you will be asked to select the additional tasks. So here I want to create the desktop icon, so I'm going to check this checkbox. Also add open with code, I want to add this option also, and I want to add this option also which says add open with code action to Windows Explorer directory context menu. I want that also, right? So I'm going to check all these checkboxes and then click on next, and then you will see the summary here. Just click on install, which is going to start the installation of Visual Studio Code. At this point, you just need to wait until this progress bar reaches to the 100% mark. And once that's done, you will be able to see this message completing the Visual Studio Code setup. Also, you can see the Visual Studio Code shortcut has been created on my desktop. So at this point, just leave this checkbox as checked, which is going to launch Visual Studio Code on your Windows 11 operating system. Just click on finish and it's going to launch Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, for the first time when you start Visual Studio Code, you have the option to select few things. You can choose which theme you want for your Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to leave it as dark mode. Otherwise, you can also choose the light theme and then high contrast theme, and there are multiple themes available for Visual Studio Code. So at this point, your Visual Studio installation is pretty much finished. But let me show you a few more things about Visual Studio Code, and let me also show you how you can use Visual Studio Code for developing different programming languages. So first of all, when I open the command prompt by just clicking on the search icon and then just type CMD, which is going to open the command prompt. And in here, when you type code and then press enter, it's going to open Visual Studio Code on your Windows 11 operating system. So you can open Visual Studio Code from your command prompt from any folder wherever you want, right? Now, one more thing which you can do with your Visual Studio Code. So let's say I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. You can create this folder anywhere you want. And then I'm going to name it as, let's say, sample folder. And I want to open this folder using the command prompt, right? So I'm going to navigate to this folder using the command prompt. Let's say cd, and then the folder is on my desktop, right? So I'm going to just cd to my desktop. And then here, I just need to cd once again to my sample folder, right? And when you type code space dot here, it's going to open Visual Studio Code. So let me just press enter here. So what it's going to do is it's going to open Visual Studio Code and this folder will be opened right in the Explorer. Here for the first time you just need to click on the yes I trust the author button, and you can see Visual Studio has opened the sample folder on my Visual Studio Code editor, right? Now in here I can create files using this button, which is for creating the files. I can create the folder inside this sample folder. I can also create files using this file option, and I can also open some folder using this file option, right? So let me create a very simple file here. So I can right click also and then click on new file here, and then I can just type hello.js here, which is going to create the hello.js or JavaScript file. Now Visual Studio Code is smart enough to understand that we have created a JavaScript file, so you will be able to see this language here, which is automatically selected for us, which is JavaScript, and Visual Studio comes with the support of JavaScript by default. So when you type some JavaScript code here, so const x is equal to, let's say, hello world here, right? So Visual Studio Code is going to understand that you are writing the JavaScript code, and it's going to provide you the IntelliSense for JavaScript. So let's say I want to print this value of x, and when I press CON, for example, it's going to show me the IntelliSense, what I'm trying to write, right? So I can select console from here and then log. So you can see I have multiple options which I can call on the console, right? So I want to just use a log here, and then I'm going to just print the value of x. So as you can see, Visual Studio Code comes with the support of JavaScript and many other languages by default, so you don't even need to install any extra support for some languages, right? You can press Ctrl S to save your code, or you can just go to the file option and then click on save, but Ctrl S is easier to do, right? Right now you can see that this font size is very small. Let's say I want to increase the font size of all the widgets on my Visual Studio Code. I just need to press Ctrl and then plus option. Okay, so just press Ctrl and plus, which is going to increase the font, size of all the widgets on your Visual Studio Code. And then once again, when you press Ctrl plus again, you can see the font size of all the widgets is once again increased. You can also say that we are doing the zoom option on Visual Studio Code. In order to reduce the font size, you can press Ctrl and then minus or hyphen option on your Windows 11. So Ctrl and hyphen, which is going to reduce the font size. So I think this font size is okay for now for this video demonstration purposes. Now, when you want to run this code, so how you can run this code, you have a few options. If you are a fan of terminal or command prompt, so you want to run your apps using the command prompt, Visual Studio comes with the integrated terminal, which you can use using this option, which is called terminal. So just click on terminal and then click on new terminal, or you can press this option. So on different keyboards you will see that this option changes, right? So I have a German keyboard, so I have this Control Shift O umlaut, but on your keyboard, let's say for US, you will see the different option here, right? So just click on new terminal here, which is going to open the command prompt on the same folder in which you are working right now. So you can see I'm working in the sample folder. Here is the sample folder, and right now I am inside the sample folder in the command prompt, right? So from here I can run my code. So let's say I want to run this code using Node.js. I can just write node here and then the name of the file, which is hello.js. And you can also see that Visual Studio Code has opened the PowerShell editor for us. You can see Windows PowerShell. So it's same like opening the PowerShell on your Windows 11 operating system. So when you just type PowerShell here, you can open PowerShell here on your Windows 11 operating system. So it's similar to using PowerShell on your Visual Studio Code terminal. Now let's say you want to use different terminals. So Windows comes with PowerShell and the command prompt, right? So right now you can see PowerShell terminal is open. If you want to change it to command prompt, you just need to click on this small arrow here. You can see this arrow and you can select which type of terminal you want. So I'm going to choose the command prompt from here. Then it's going to open the command prompt. So you can see we have opened multiple terminals and the list of all the terminals is going to appear on the left hand side. So on the first terminal, I have PowerShell opened. On the second terminal, which is in the same folder, I have command prompt opened. I can also open, let's say, JavaScript debug terminal, and it's going to open the JavaScript debug terminal for us, which is essentially the PowerShell terminal in my case, right? You can also split your terminal. So you can see you have the option to split the terminal. So you can see when you just hover over the split terminal option here, you can select which terminal you want to split. So let's say I want to split command prompt terminal. You can see there are two command prompt terminals which are open, and you will be able to see all these options here. You can also close the terminal by just clicking on this delete icon here, which is going to delete the terminal, right? So if you want to delete this PowerShell terminal, you can just click on the delete icon on the PowerShell option. So this was a brief introduction about terminal. If you want to customize and configure more on your terminal, you have all these options which you can use here. So just play with all these options and see what they can do. You also have this search option here. So let's say I want to search something on Visual Studio Code. I can just press Ctrl F keys, and then it's going to show me this find option here, and then I can find something. Let's say I want to search for all the logs, right? So I can just write log here, and then you can see this log is highlighted here, right? You can also replace this. So let's say I want to replace this log with something else. So let's say I want to replace this by dir. So I can do this, and then I can just click on this option, which is going to replace all the occurrence of log in the current file, or I can just select this option, which is going to replace the first found item. So whatever item is highlighted here, it's going to replace that only. So you can see right now 3 of 3 is highlighted. I can just click on this arrow button and see where else this log appears on my file. Right now 1 of 3 occurrence is highlighted, which is this one. I can click on this button, which is going to replace this highlighted log by dir. If I press on this option, it's going to replace all the occurrences of log. So you can see it's done that. So this is how you can find and replace in your Visual Studio Code editor. Now, if you want to search in all the files inside your project folder, you have this search option. So let's say I have 10 JavaScript files inside this sample folder. Then you can just click on this option, which can be used as a global search inside your project folder. So let's say I want to just search for logs. You can see I only have one file inside this sample folder, so it has found all the occurrences of log. But if my folder contains multiple JavaScript files, then also it's going to show me the list of all the occurrences of log in my project folder in all the files. And here also I can replace log by any other word or any other options here. So this is for the global search. You have the Explorer here, which is going to show you all the project files. Then you have the search option. Then the third option here is for the source control. So let's say you have Git installed or any other version control tool installed. Visual Studio Code is going to detect that tool and it's going to show you the changed file, or if you make some changes in your code, it's going to show you all the options related to the version control in this window, right? So you can commit your source code, you can push your source code, you can pull the source code from GitHub or any other repository in the source control section, right? Now the next option here is the run and debug option, right? So you can see run and debug. So you have the option to debug your code using Visual Studio Code. So as I said, Visual Studio Code comes with support of some languages, but if it doesn't come with the inherent support for some language, you can install the support for that language also using packages and other options. So here you can see that if I want to debug this JavaScript file, I have the option to click on this run and debug button, which is going to create this launch JSON file, which is the file basically we use to provide the debug configuration to our project, right? And from the next time when you click on the debug button here, it's going to debug your code, and you can just use this debugger to debug your code. You can see I have created a breakpoint here, here, here. You will be able to see all the breakpoints in the breakpoints section. If you want to remove all the breakpoints, you can click on this button which says remove all breakpoints, or you can deactivate the breakpoints also from here. So you can have an overview of all your breakpoints in all your files in your project using this breakpoints overview. Now you also have this extensions option here. So when you click on the extensions option, you can see if Visual Studio Code doesn't come with the support of any language, then it's going to provide you the option to download the extension for that language. So let's say I want to have the support for the Python language, which is the most popular language which we can develop on our Visual Studio Code. I can search for Python here. So I can just write Python here, and it's going to search all the extensions related to Python which are popular. You can see how many downloads were done for that package. You can see 48 million for Python, which is from Microsoft. When I click on this, I can have more information about this package. Let me just press Control-, so you will be able to see this overview in a better way. Here you can see who has developed this extension. You can see Microsoft, and if you see Microsoft here, that means it's developed by Microsoft for you, right? And you can trust it. You can also see the number of downloads for this extension. You can click on the install button to install this extension, and also when you scroll down, you will be able to see how you can use this extension. Let's say I want to just search for the extensions for Java, and it's going to show me all the extensions related to Java here, right? So you can search for all the extensions and then install these extensions, which is going to help you to develop your code in a better way. Also, you have this option for the account section. So you can click on this turn on settings sync. So you can just log in to your Visual Studio Code, and then when you use your Visual Studio Code on any other computer, and when you log in with the same Visual Studio Code account, your settings will be imported in your Visual Studio Code on the different computer also. You also have this settings option, And when you click on the settings option, you have this settings option here, and you can change many settings related to Visual Studio Code. So you can see you have the main settings option, which is going to open this kind of window, and here you can change the settings related to text editor, workbench, window, features, application, security, and extensions, right? So you can see you can change the settings related to let's say text editor using this text editor option, and when you scroll down you will be able to see all the options for the settings. This is all about the Visual Studio Code window. You also have the run option, so it also provides the run options. Let's say I want to just start the debugging of my JavaScript code. I can do that using the start debugging button. I also have the go button, which is going to just redirect me to the definition, declaration, type definition of a particular code which I have highlighted. I can also click on view option, and then I have these more options here, and then the selection option, edit option, which is like just cut, copy, paste, and find, replace related settings. And if you want to update your Visual Studio Code, you can just click on check for updates on the help section, and you can just update your Visual Studio Code. So let me close this window from here and close this window from here. So let's say in my documents folder, I have this Java apps folder, which already contains some Java file and the compiled version of that file. So when you are inside a project folder on your folder explorer, you can right click here on your Windows 11 operating system, and then click on show more options here, which is going to show you more options. And you can see this option, which is open with code. So when you click on open with code, it's going to open this folder on your Visual Studio Code, right? So now I can develop Java using my Visual Studio Code, right? And when I open some folder and the support for that language is not installed on my Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio Code always provides me these kind of information or warning which says, do you want to install the recommended extensions for Java, right? So if I choose to install all the recommended extensions which are recommended by Visual Studio Code for us, it's going to just install the extensions related to Java, and then I can easily use Java on my Visual Studio Code, and I can develop Java code on my Visual Studio Code. How you can set up the support for Python on Visual Studio Code on your Windows operating system. So I'm assuming that you have already installed Visual Studio Code and Python on your Windows operating system. If you don't know how to install Visual Studio Code or Python, I will provide the link of those videos in the description, so you can watch those videos and then come to this video, right? So once you already have Python and Visual Studio Code on your Windows operating system, we are ready to go. So first of all, we can check the version of Python, for example. So just write cmd on your terminal, and if you have a Python installed, then this Python version command is going to give you the version of Python. In my case, it's 3.10.0. In your case, it can be different depending on when you have installed Python on your Windows operating system. As you can see, I also have Visual Studio Code. Now let me open the terminal once again, and let me just start from the basics. So I'm assuming you are totally new and you just want to create the first Python project in your Visual Studio Code and debug it and run it, and then use Python scripts inside your Visual Studio Code. So let's say I want to create a folder which will be my project folder on the desktop, right? So I'm going to just cd to the desktop here in my command prompt, and then press enter. And here I can create a folder. Let's say I want to create a folder named work. So I can just type mkdir command, which is the command line option to create a folder in your command prompt on Windows operating system. And then the name of your folder. So let's say in my case, I want to create a work directory on my desktop. So I can just press enter and you can see this directory is created. I will cd into this directory and then press enter once again. So now I'm in my work directory. And let's say here I want to create all the Python script for my project. So now here I can just type code space dot and then press enter, which is going to open my work directory in Visual Studio Code. You can see the name of the directory here. This name will always appear in capital letters. So if you are wondering, we have created this directory in all small letters, but this directory is created in capital letters. Here on Visual Studio Code, you will always see the directory name in all capital letters. So now let's create a Python file. You can create a Python file by just right-clicking on the Explorer here, or you can click on this option which says new file, or you can create the file by just clicking on the file and then click on new file. So whatever option is easier for you, just use that option and then just create your Python file. I'm going to name my file as test.py and then press enter. Now as soon as I create a Python file, Visual Studio Code is going to recognize that I want to create Python projects or Python scripts, and it's going to give me the suggestion for installing the extension for Python. You can see, do you want to install the recommended extension for Python? You can click on the install button, which is going to install the support for Python. Otherwise, what you can do, you can click on the extensions icon here, and then it's going to show you the list of all the popular extensions, and you can also search for the extensions. So let's say I want the Python extension. So I will type Python here, and it's going to show me all the extensions related to Python. Now you will also see these options are sorted by their popularity, right? So you can see the number of downloads for this first option is 48 million, then 3.8 million, then 2.6 million. So I'm going to select the first option because it's mostly used. Here you can see who has developed this extension. So it's developed by Microsoft. That's good because Visual Studio Code is developed by Microsoft. So this will be the best extension for the support of Python. And then I can also see the ratings here and the number of downloads once again. I can click on the install button, which is going to install this extension, which in turn is going to add the support for Python in Visual Studio Code. So once this extension is installed, you will be able to see these two options here. You have the option to uninstall this extension, and you have the option to disable this extension. So if in future you want to develop, let's say Java or some other language, you can maybe disable Python support or totally uninstall it using these two options. You can also just scroll down and read how you can use this extension, right? So once this extension is installed, then we are ready to write some code. Also, you will observe, so let me just move to the Explorer. You will observe here your Python interpreter, right? So as you might have seen, I have Python 3.10.0 installed. So Visual Studio Code is going to recognize my Python interpreter, and it's going to show this interpreter here. If I have multiple versions of Python installed, or if I have Python installed in multiple places on my Windows 11 operating system, then Visual Studio Code is going to recognize that, and it's going to show all these options here. So when I click on this interpreter option, I have only one Python installation which is recognized by Visual Studio Code. But if I have multiple installation and multiple versions of Python, I will be able to select a particular interpreter for my Python script. If I have Anaconda installed, then also I will be able to see the Anaconda related options here. So you can choose the interpreter from here. Also, when you type Ctrl+Shift+P, you will be able to see this kind of search bar. Here, when you type Python, you will be able to see all these options related to Python. So you can see create a terminal, configure tests, debug Python file, enable disable linting, go to Python object. So you can see you have all the options here on this command palette here. So you can search all the options related to Python. Now, if you want to open the integrated terminal to just run your script, you have this option which says terminal, and then when you click on new terminal, it's going to open the terminal inside the Visual Studio Code, and you will be able to see which terminal is opened. So you can see it's a PowerShell terminal. You can also see this here. If you want to open the command prompt and not PowerShell, you can just choose it from here. So you can click here and then click on command prompt, and it's going to open the command prompt, and you will be able to see the list of all the command prompt terminal which are opened on your Visual Studio Code. Now let me add a very simple Python script here which have two numbers, and I'm just comparing them using if statement. So once you have your script, you have multiple options to run your script. So you can right click on the same editor in which you are writing your code, and then you can see you have this option to run a Python file in the terminal. You also have the run current file in the interactive window. So you have all these options here. Also, you have this run button which is going to run your Python file. Or if you are a fan of command prompt or terminal, then you can directly type your command, for example Python, and then the name of the file which is going to run your Python script in this terminal. So let's say I'm going to choose this option to run my Python script. I'm going to press this button. You can see my Python script is executed, and the result is here, right? So it's going to just select the interpreter from here and then the complete path of the file, and it's going to run this file and then give you the out. Let's say I want to just run this script using terminal. I can just type Python here and then the name of the file, which is test.py, and it's going to give me the output, which is a lot cleaner than using this terminal, because it's going to show you all the complete paths of the Python executable and your file, right? So whatever option seems to be useful for you, you can use that option. Now let's say you ran your Python script, and let's say you want to debug your Python script. So you can just go to your script and then add the breakpoint on your Python script using these red dots, right? So you can just hover over the line on which you want to set the breakpoint and then just click there, and you will see this kind of red dot here. That means the breakpoint is set on the third line. Now on the left hand side, you have this debug and run icon here. So you can click on debug and run. And here at the bottom, you will be able to see all breakpoints you have set. So right now I only have one breakpoint. I can set multiple breakpoints here, and I will be able to see the list of all the breakpoints here. From here, I can disable all the breakpoints by just clicking on this icon, which means all the breakpoints are there, but they are disabled, right? If I want to remove all the breakpoints, I can click on the remove all breakpoints icon here, and it's going to remove all the breakpoints. So let me add the breakpoint once again. Now, for the first time when you are debugging your Python script, when you click on the debug icon here, you will see this run and debug button here. And also you will see this option which says to customize run and debug, you can create a launch .json file. So here you will be able to customize your debug file. For example, which debugger you want to use for your debugging, which Python interpreter you want to use, which file you want to use for debugging. So all these options you can give in the launch.json file. Let me just click on run and debug option, which is going to give me all these options. I want to choose the first option, which is Python file. And once I click on that, I will be able to see that my debugger is running, and my program execution will stop at the breakpoint here. So you can see my execution is stopped at the breakpoint. I can see all the debugging related options here. So when I click on this continue button, my program will run normally. I can just step over, I can step into a function, I can come out of the function, and I can rerun my debugger using this option, and I can stop this debugger using this icon here, right? When you see this pink kind of bar here, that means your debugger is running, right? If you stop it, you will see that this pink bar is gone, right? So this is kind of a trick to observe when your debugger is running or not, right? So let me rerun it once again. You can see the debugger is running, program execution is stopped at this breakpoint. I will be able to see the list of all the local variables on the left hand side. I can watch some variables. Let's say I want to watch a variable b. I can just type b and then press enter, and it's going to give me the value of the variable which I want to watch here. I can also see the globals here, so you can see all the global variable values are here, and I can just step over, right? So I can just go to the next execution point and see what's happening in my script. So this is how you can debug your script. Let me just stop the debugger. I can once again go to my folder explorer. Now once you have added the Python extension, you will be able to see that the Python Intellisense is also there. So when you type some letters of a method, let's say, it's going to show you all the methods which you can use related to what you have typed in your editor. So when I type PRI, it's going to show me all the print related options, right? I can also, when I just write one parenthesis, it's going to complete that. I can print the value of, let's say, B, right? So all the Intellisense options are available for me. Once I have installed my Python extension, I can just save my script by just pressing Ctrl S, which is going to save my script. Now let's say you are an advanced user and you want to use Python Virtual Env in your project, right? So normally, let's say whenever you want to install a Python pip package, you can do it directly. But if you want to create a virtual env for your project, you can also do it easily in Visual Studio Code. So let me create a new test file. Let me name it as test2.py. And here in my test2.py, I have this very simple Python script which uses a package called bcrypt, right? Right now, you can see this yellow squiggly line here, which says import bcrypt could not be resolved because we haven't installed this package using pip on our project. So let me just close all these terminals. I just want to use one terminal, which is the command prompt, and let me clear this command prompt here, right? So in order to create a new virtual environment, you can type this command. So Python -m, then venv, and then env, and then press enter, which is going to create a new virtual env for us. And you will be able to see this warning which says, we noticed a new virtual environment has been created. Do you want to select it for the workspace folder? So when I choose yes here, see what happens. So when I choose yes, you will be able to see this virtual env is listed here. So with my Python interpreter, this env is also visible. You can see env venv, right? So now I can choose between the virtual env also from this interpreter list. Okay, so you can choose your virtual env also. So to activate this virtual env, I can give this command and then press enter, which is going to activate my virtual env, and you will be able to recognize using this. So if you see the name env here, then you have activated the virtual env. So if you see the name of your virtual environment, that means it's activated. And then we can just install this pip package here. So I can just write pip space -q install bcrypt, which is my package which I want to install. And once I have installed this package, you can see the squiggly line is gone. That means I can just use this bcrypt package in my script easily now, right? So now I can just type Python command and then the name of the file, which is test2.py, right? So that is test2.py, and then press enter, which is going to run this script, and it runs successfully. Also, when you are done, you can just type deactivate, which is going to deactivate your virtual environment. So I can type deactivate and then press enter, and now I'm in my normal command prompt. Also, once you have created the virtual environment, you will be able to see this directory here, env, right? So all the configuration you will be able to see here. And of course, you will have the track of your files in your version control inside your Visual Studio Code editor using this source control option. So if you have installed Git, it's going to show you what changes you have made, and it's going to help you to commit your code, push your code, pull your code from GitHub or any other repository easily inside the Visual Studio Code. The last option which I want to show here is, let's say you don't want to just run and debug, you want to create a launch.json file for debugging. You can click on the create a launch.json file and then click on Python file, and it's going to create this launch.json file. So as I said, you have the information about the console here, the program which you want to run, and then the request is here, the type is Python, the name will be Python current file. And if you have created multiple debug files, you will be able to choose those files or configurations using this list, right? And when you go to the Explorer, you will be able to see this launch.json file, which is created under .vscode folder. So this is a hidden directory, and you will be able to change the content inside it using this launch.json file. So how you can set up Visual Studio Code for Java development on your Windows 11 operating system. So for developing Java on Visual Studio Code, you need two things. First thing is Java JDK, which should be installed on your Windows 11 operating system. And the other thing is Visual Studio Code Editor. So if you don't know how to install Java JDK on your Windows operating system, then I will provide the link in the description of this video, and you can watch that video and see how we can install Java JDK. Same goes for Visual Studio Code. So if you don't know how to install Visual Studio Code, just click the link in the description of this video and you will be good to go. So after installing Visual Studio Code and Java JDK on your Windows 11 operating system, there is one more thing which you will require in order to develop Java programs on Visual Studio Code, and that is the Java support for your Visual Studio Code. So for that, you can open your favorite browser once again and then search for Visual Studio Code Java. And you will see the first link which will appear here, which will be from code.visualstudio.com. So I'm going to click on this link, and I'm going to put this link in the description of this video also. So the most important step here is when you scroll down, you need to install this package which is called Install the Coding Pack for Java on Windows. So in order to fast track the process of Java development on Visual Studio Code team has itself created this pack for Java, which you can install on your Windows operating system or on your Mac operating system. And this will help you to develop Java programs on your Windows 11 operating system. So now I'm going to click on this button which says install coding pack for Java, which is also going to download this exe file. You can also read this description which says to help you set up, we recommend you to use the coding pack for Java, which is the bundle of VSCode, the Java development kit. So now this exe file is downloaded for the Java pack. So I'm going to click on this exe file and let me minimize my browser. And now you can see this install coding pack for Java setup has been started. So first step is to accept the license terms and conditions. Click on next here and then just verify everything. You can see I have already installed Java Development Kit 17 on my Windows operating system, and I already have the installation of Visual Studio Code. So this pack is going to detect if you already have the Java JDK installation and Visual Studio Code installation. So in the next step, you just need to click on the install button, which is going to start the installation of this coding pack for Java. So once this coding pack is installed, you can see this message which says completing the setup. Just leave this checkbox as checked and then click on finish, which is going to launch Visual Studio Code on your Windows operating system. So now Visual Studio Code has been started with the Java support. You might be able to just check all the Java related extensions here. When you click on the extension icon here, you will be able to see. So when you click on extension pack for Java, it's already installed. Debugger for Java, it's also installed. Maven for Java, it's also installed. So all the extensions which you will require to develop Java programs on your Visual Studio Code editor, you will see the list of all the extensions here. So now we are ready to develop some Java code, right? So let me start from the very beginning. So let's say you want to create your first Java program in Visual Studio Code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just open the command prompt. I will just write cmd, and here I'm going to create a new directory. So first of all, let's say I want to create this project folder on the desktop. So I will just cd to the desktop directory, and here I can create a folder using the command mkdir. You can right click on the desktop and create the folder also. I'm going to name my folder as sample and then press enter, and you will see this sample project has been created. So let me go inside that folder. So just type cd sample here and then press enter, and now you are inside the sample directory, right? Here you can write code space dot and then press enter, which is going to open this sample folder in Visual Studio Code directly, right? If you don't want to use the command line, just do it everything using this GUI and then go inside the project folder. Right now it's empty. You can right click here and then click on show more options and then click on open with code, which is also going to open the same folder in your Visual Studio Code. So let's say I want to create a very simple hello world Java program here. I can create a Java file using this icon, or using file and then new file, or I can simply right click here and then click on new file here. So I'm going to name my file as hello.java, and once I do that, I will just press enter. And once you create this file, you can see Visual Studio Code is going to automatically detect the file extension, and you will be able to see this language here. You can also see projects are imported into workspace. So let me just create a very simple hello class in this hello.java file. So I'm going to just type class here, and you can see Visual Studio Code is going to detect that you are trying to create a class in this hello.java file. And when you just select the second option here, you can see Visual Studio Code has automatically created this hello class for me. Now in order to create a main method inside this hello class, I can just type main here, and once again Visual Studio Code is going to show you Intellisense and show you all these options, and it has detected that I want to create the main method inside this class, and I'm going to just select the first option here, which is going to create the main method inside this hello class from me automatically. So how simple this is, right? Now let's say I want to just type hello world. I can just write system.out.println, and at every step you will be able to see this Intellisense, so I will be able to complete my code faster. And then let me just print hello world here, and it's that simple to create your first hello world Java program, right? Now how you can run your Java programs. So for that you have few options here. The obvious one is this one, which is this run button, and it's going to run your Java program. The second option is to just right click on your Java file, and when you scroll down you will be able to see this run Java option and debug Java option. So you can use these two options to run and debug your Java program, or you will see this option here on the top of your main method, run or debug. So you can also use one of these options to run your program or debug your program. You also have this run option here, and it's going to allow you to start debugging, and all the other options related to debugging are available here also. So let's run our program. So I'm going to just click on this run button, which is going to compile our Java program, and for the first time it's going to show me this warning. I'm going to just click on allow access, and you can see Visual Studio Code has already compiled our code and ran our code, and the output is printed here. Now let's say you forget to type the semicolon here. Visual Studio Code is going to show you this red error, and it's also going to show you what can be this error. So you see it's a syntax error, and we need to insert the semicolon at the last, right? So it's going to help you to detect the errors in your Java code also. Now let's say you have written the wrong code which will not compile, but then also you want to just compile it. Then you will see this error here in the problems tab, and you will see the details of the error here, right? So the exact line number on which the error is coming, and when you click on this error, it's going to just redirect you to the particular line from which the error is coming. So this is how you can detect the errors and fix them. Also, let's try to debug our code. So you can click on this debug option here, or you can click on this debug icon here on the left hand side, and then you can click on run and debug option. So I'm going to click on run and debug, which is going to start the Java debugger. And because I haven't added any breakpoint, my debugger has ran successfully and it has printed hello world. Let's say I will just add a breakpoint here. All my breakpoints I will be able to see here under breakpoints. So I can add multiple breakpoints in my code using these red dots, and I can keep the track of all the breakpoints under this breakpoints section. I can disable all the breakpoint at once using this toggle active breakpoint button, which is going to deactivate all the breakpoints. If I want to remove all the breakpoints, then I can just click on this icon, which is going to remove all the breakpoints, right? Let's say I have just added the breakpoint here and then ran the debugger once again. This time you can see the execution of my code has been stopped on the breakpoint, and I will be able to see the argument values here, and then I have all these options. So I can continue using this button, I can step over to the next line, I can step into a method, or I can step out from a method. I can also restart my debugger, stop my debugger, and this option is for hot code replace option, right? So I have all these options here. So now let me just stop this debugging from here, and let me add some codes. So let's say I just declared two number, num1, which will be equal to 5, let's say, and then I'm going to declare a second variable which is called num2, and the value of it is 10, let's say, right? And I'm going to create a third variable which will be called, let's say, sum here, and it will be the sum of num1 plus num2, right? So you will be able to see at each and every point Visual Studio Code is going to show us hint and IntelliSense to complete our code faster. And now I want to just print the value of sum here, right? And now I have more debugging possibilities, and let me just start the debugger once again. I have added 3 breakpoints here, and here you can see that I will be able to keep the track of all the local variables here. I can also watch for some variables here. For example, I want to watch for a variable called sum. I can just add that, but the program execution is still not there. So right now cannot evaluate because of the compilation error, right? So let's step over to the next line. You can see the value 5 is assigned to variable num1. Step over once again. Now num2 has 10, and then step over once again. Now we have the sum which is equal to 15, and this variable we were watching, right? So it was in our watch list, so now it shows the value, right? So you can see the global and local variable lists here. You can watch for some variables, and you have the track of all these breakpoints here, right? So this is how you can debug your Java code on your Visual Studio Code. You also have the possibility, so let me just stop this debugger. So you also have the possibility to create a launch.json file, and here you can provide the configuration related to debugging on this launch.json file. So you can click on this create a launch.json file. So just click on this launch.json file, which is going to create this launch.json file, and you can see all the configuration related to the Java debugging. And when you click on the Explorer option, you will be able to see this .vscode folder is created, and under that you have this launch.json file. So this is good when you are just creating your program and then just pushing it to some GitHub repository, and then somebody else will be able to take your launch configuration, and he will be able to use it for debugging your Java program, right? You also have this GitHub versioning for your source code. So when you have Git installed, Visual Studio Code is going to track all the changes which you make on your project in your Java files, and it will allow you to commit or push your code or pull some repository from GitHub or any other repository, right? You can also search for some code using the search option, and if these extensions are not enough, you can search more Java related extensions by just typing Java, and then you will be able to find more Java related extensions here, so you can install them and use them for developing different Java frameworks. So let's say I want to add the support for Spring, so I can just install this extension and then develop Spring based app in my Visual Studio Code editor. So this is how you can set up and use Java in your Visual Studio Code editor, how you can set up C and C++ support on your Visual Studio Code editor on your Windows 11 operating system. So for this, you will need two things. First one is obvious, which is Visual Studio Code. So if you haven't installed Visual Studio Code, I will recommend you to install it. It's a very easy and simple process. And if you don't know how to install Visual Studio Code, I will put the link of the video in which I have shown how you can install and use Visual Studio Code. And once you have Visual Studio Code, we need a second tool, which is called a compiler, right? So a compiler will help you to compile your C and C++ code on any operating system. So for Windows, we are going to install the Mingw compiler. So let's start with that. So first of all, open your favorite browser and search for Mingw. And in the search result, you will see some websites. So don't click on the first website which you will see here, which is from SourceForge. You need to open this website which says mingw-w64.org. So just click on this link which says mingw-w64.org. And once this website opens, you will be able to see the overview here. And on this website, you can click on the downloads link here. So here you will be able to see all the download link for Mingw for different operating systems. So the one we are looking for is the Windows version. So we are going to click on this link which says Mingw W64 builds. So just click on this link, which is going to open this kind of window again. And from here you can download the Mingw builds from SourceForge. So you need to click on this link now, right? So SourceForge link was shown directly in the search result, but you need to go through this website in order to come to this website. And once you are redirected to the sourceforge.net website, you will see that Mingw 64-bit installer exe file will be downloaded on your Windows 11 operating system. So once this file is downloaded, I'm going to click on this file. And then you will see this warning which says, do you want to allow this app from unknown publisher to make changes on your device? I trust this, so I will click on yes here. And I'm going to minimize this browser. And you can see Mingw installer has been started on my Windows 11 operating system. So on the first window, I just need to click on next here, which is going to start the installation. Here you can choose the version for Mingw. So I'm going to choose the topmost option, which is 8.1.0 at the time of making this video. You can also choose the architecture. I'm going to choose x86-64, and then you can choose the threads. So generally for threads, I always choose POSIX, but you can also choose Win32 also. Also exception, you have two options. I will leave it as default. And then you have the build revision. I will leave it as default also, and then click on next. And this will be the location where your Mingw compiler will be installed. So you can see it will be installed in the program files. Mingw directory will be created, and then this folder will be created, right? So if you don't have the good reason to change this location, just leave it as default. And also you can leave this checkbox as checked, which is going to create a shortcut for your Mingw compiler tool. So I'm going to click on next now, which is going to start the download of all the files and packages for your Mingw tools. So just wait for this process to reach to the 100% mark. So now after some time, I can see this window which says click next to continue the installation. So I'm going to click on the next. And now I can see this message which says Mingw has been successfully installed, and I can click on finish to complete the installation. So let me click on the finish button. So once I click on the finish button, Mingw is installed on my Windows operating systems. So now once Mingw is installed, first of all, we need to know the location where Mingw is installed. So at the time of installation, you might have noted the location. So let me show you the default location where Mingw will be installed. So you need to go inside the C directory and then go inside program files, and then you will be able to see this Mingw-w 64-bit folder here, and then this folder will be there. So this is the location where Mingw is installed. Then you need to go inside Mingw-w64, and here under the bin folder you will see all the files which will help you to compile your C or C++ programs. Okay, so go until the bin folder, right? And you need to copy this path. Now we need to set the environment variables for Mingw so that we can use GCC or G++ command on our Windows command prompt or PowerShell or terminal. So for that, what you need to do, you just need to click on search and then search for edit env, and it's going to show you this result which says edit environment variables for your account, and you can see this window is going to open, right? Now if you can't find this edit environment variable window using the search option, then you can always open the control panel, and then once control panel opens, you need to view by category here and then click on system and security, and then once again click on system here, which is going to open the settings app, and here it's going to show you in about section this link which says advanced system settings. So just click on that and then click on environment variables, which is also going to open the same window. So you can choose any one of the method. So once this environment variables window opens, select path under system variables and then click on edit and then click on new here. Okay, so it's going to allow you to add a new environment variable, and then just copy the path until the bin folder inside your Mingw 64-bit folder. Okay, so this path is until bin folder. Okay, and once you copied it, you can just add this path here inside your environment variables, and then just press enter, which is going to add your path, and then click OK here and then click OK, and then once again click on OK. And now you can close all the windows here, and now we can test our GCC and G++ versions and commands, right? So you can open the command prompt by just pressing CMD and then open the command prompt from the result. And once the command prompt is open, here you can just write GCC space -- version and then press enter. And if you see some result which looks like this, that means GCC command is working successfully on your Windows 11 operating system. Similarly, you can also check the G++ command, which is also used to compile your C++ programs. So it's also going to show you this kind of result here. So once you see this kind of result, that means your GCC and G++ commands are working. So once you have installed the Mingw compiler and you have set the environment variables for GCC and G++, we are ready to create our first C++ code. So let's start with the very basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my command prompt. So for that, I'm going to just search for CMD and then press enter, which is going to open my command prompt. And then let's say I'm going to create a folder in which I want to have all my C++ related files, right? So let's say I want to create this folder on my desktop. I'm going to just cd to my desktop first of all, and then I'm going to create a folder. And on command prompt, to create a folder, you can give this command mkdir, and then let's say I want to name my folder as my cpp app, and then I'm going to just press enter, which is going to create the folder with this name. You can also right click here and then create the folder if you want. You don't need to create it with the help of command prompt. So once this folder is created, I'm going to cd in this folder, and then when I type on the command prompt code space dot, and then press enter, it's going to open Visual Studio Code, and this folder will be opened in Visual Studio Code from which I have given this command, right? So currently I am in my CPP app folder in the command prompt, right? And when I gave this command, it's going to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. Here I can create a CPP file. So let's create a very basic C++ file. I'm going to name my file as main.cpp here and then press enter, which is going to create this file. Now, as soon as I create the C++ file, Visual Studio Code is going to recognize that, and it's going to show me some recommendations. You can see, do you want to install recommended extension for C++? So here you can click on this option. Don't click on install, but because we want to see which extensions we are going to install. So I'm going to click on show recommendations here, and here it's going to open this extensions tab, right? So on the left hand side you have this bar, and when you just hover over this extensions icon here, you will be able to see that it's for extensions. So just click on this, and then you will be able to see many extensions for C and C++, right? So right now the recommended extension by Visual Studio Code for us is this one, which is created by Microsoft. You can see, and the number of downloads are also given here. So around 3.3 million downloads are done for this extension. So if you don't see this recommendation, you can always go to this extensions tab here and then search for C++, and once you search for C++, it's going to show you all these recommendations, right? So the topmost option is going to be the option which you will require. So you can see this one, and it's from Microsoft once again. And for this extension, you can see the number of downloads are 27 million. And what it does, it provides the support for C and C++ Intellisense, debugging, and code browsing. So we are going to install the C/C++ extension first of all, and just click on the install button, which is going to start the installation process of this extension. Same we are going to do for this one, which is called C/C++ extension pack. So just choose this extension also, which is called C/C++ extension pack, and then click on install, which is going to install 9 essential C and C++ related packs, right? So we have already installed the C and C++ Intellisense, debugging, and code browsing extension. In addition, it's going to install all these extensions so that we can run our C or C++ code on Visual Studio Code editor, right? So if you want to use CMake or Make or any other kind of tool to build your C++ program, this extension is going to install all the related extensions for that. So you can see all the extensions in this pack are installed, and now you will be able to see disable and uninstall option. And let's write some code. So first of all, we are going to include this IOStream package. So I'm going to just write include. And you can see at every point you will get the Intellisense to complete your code. So when I just type this angle bracket, it shows me all the options, and then when I just type IO, I can see all these packages which starts from IO, right? I need this IOStream, so I'm going to select this, and it's going to just add the ending angle bracket also. Then I'm going to create the main method, which is simple int main, and then these parentheses, and then these curly brackets. Here I just want to, let's say, print hello world. So I'm going to just write std : c out, and then I want to print hello world. So once you have written your code, you can save your code by just pressing Ctrl S, which is going to save your code, and then you are ready to run your code. So how you can run your code on your Visual Studio Code editor? So in order to run your code, you have the option to open the terminal and run your code there, or you can just select this terminal option and you have this run task, run build task. So I'm going to select this option which says run build task. You can also press Ctrl Shift B for running this build task. So let me just click on this, and as soon as I click on this option, I will see all these options here. So for building my C++ program, I will require g++.exe file, right? If you need to compile the C program, so if this file name was main.c file and you wanted to compile the C program, you could have chosen gcc.exe, right? So for C++, we use G++, and for C programs, we use GCC. So in my case, I'm going to use this option which says g++exe build active file. And what it's going to do, it's going to build my file, and you can see build finished successfully. So my build was finished successfully, and you can see this main.exe file is generated. So now I just need to run this exe file and see what is the output, right? So for this, I can open a new terminal. You can open the new terminal by just selecting this terminal option and then click on new terminal, or you can click on this plus button which is going to open the new terminal. Now as you can see, the type of terminal which is opened, right? So by default, because PowerShell is the default terminal on my Windows 11 operating system, so it has opened PowerShell. But let's say I want to open the normal command prompt, right? I can open it by just clicking on this arrow button, and then I can select command prompt from here, and it's going to open the command prompt. You can see which type of terminal or command prompt is open on the right hand side in this list. So I have this PowerShell terminal open, I have this command prompt terminal open, and it's similar to opening your CMD on your Windows operating system or PowerShell on your Windows operating system. So you can see this Windows PowerShell. So it's similar to opening these PowerShell or command prompt on your Windows 11 operating system. They are just opened in your Visual Studio Code. So they come integrated with your Visual Studio Code. From here, I select CMD option. So I want to run my exe file using command prompt. So I can just type the name of my exe file, which is main.exe, and then press enter, which is going to print the output here, which is hello world in my case, right? So that's how you can run your program using PowerShell. So if you want to use PowerShell, so for the PowerShell, you just need to write dot and then the backslash and the name of your exe, which is main.exe file, and then press enter, which is also going to show you the hello world result. So you can run your exe file using command prompt also, and from the PowerShell also. Now let me add some more code, and I will show you how you can debug your C++ program on Visual Studio Code. So very simple, nothing complicated about this program. I just want to show how you can debug your C++ code. So in order to debug your C++ code, you select this option, which is called run and debug. And here you can see a few options. So you can click on run and debug button here, which is going to run your program in a debugger. You can also create a launch.json file to customize your debugging options, right? So for now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just add a few breakpoints here, and you will see the list of all the breakpoints in this list under breakpoints. So you will be able to see the list of all the breakpoints. You can see it's in the main.cpp file, and then they are at line 4, 5, and 6, right? You can disable all the breakpoints by just pressing this button which says toggle active breakpoints, and it's going to disable all these breakpoints. It's not going to remove the breakpoints, but these breakpoints will be disabled. You can also remove all these breakpoints by just pressing this option which says remove all breakpoints, and it's going to remove all the breakpoints. So let me add these breakpoints once again, and let's run this debugger. So I'm going to click on run and debug button, and once again Visual Studio Code is going to ask us which debugger we want to use, right? So depending upon the debugger available on your Windows 11 operating system, you can choose from those debuggers. Because we have installed the Mingw as a compiler on our Windows operating system, we are going to choose the first option which says C++ GDB LLDB. Okay, so I'm going to select this option, and this is going to give me once again these options, right? So now as I said, for C++ programs you choose the g++.exe file, and for C programs you can choose gcc.exe files, right? So I'm going to select the g++.exe file for C++, and it's going to run my program in the debugger, and you can see it's starting the debugger here, and now my program is running in the debug mode. So how can I understand that my program is in debug mode? You will be able to see this specific color for debugging, right? So this bar color is changed for the debugging, and you will be able to see all these options for debugging. So from this option you can continue to the next code, and then using this you can step over in the code, and then you can step into the code and then step out of the code, and then you can rerun your debugging once again, and you can stop your debugging using this icon. Now because we have added this breakpoint, our program execution is stopped at this line 4, which is our first breakpoint, and on the left hand side you will be able to see the list of all variables and the values for these variables. So right now the variable 1 have 0 value, variable 2 have 16, and variable sum has 0 value, because at this point these numbers are not assigned to our variables. C++ is going to assign the random numbers to these variables, right? That's why you see all these random numbers. Now when I just click on step over and move to the next breakpoint, what happens here? You can see num1 is equal to 5 here, right? I can also watch for some specific variables. Let's say I want to watch the variable called sum, which is this variable. I can type the name of the variable and then press enter, and then I can watch that variable specifically, right? So now the value of num1 is 5 because this line is executed, but still this line is not executed. So still num2 has been assigned any random number. In my case it's 16, but it can be any number because we haven't assigned 10 here because we are on this line. When we go to the next line by clicking on step over, you can see the number 10 is assigned to num2 variable, right? But still the value of sum is 0 because at this point our program execution is stopped at this point. So still the assignment is not has not been taken place. So when I step over to the next line, I can see the sum value, which is 15, and you can see I was watching this variable also. So this variable value is also 15, right? So this is how you can step over and step into a method or step out of the method using these buttons, and you can keep the track of all these local and global variables on this section. And then you also have the call stack. So right now we are in the thread 1, which is our main thread. If we were using multiple threads, you will be able to see in which thread what is happening here in the call stack, right? So this is how you can debug your code. you can stop this code by clicking on this stop icon here, and you will come out of your debugger, right? And you can see the output of your debugger in this debug console, right? So you will be able to see where your program execution is, where you have stopped in your program. So we stopped at breakpoint 3, breakpoint 4. So once I have chosen my debugger, I can next time I can always use this option from here, from this list, and then I can run the debugger again. Once you select all these options which I have shown you, and when you go to the Explorer section, Visual Studio Code is going to create this .VSCode file, and here this launch.json file is important, where all the options which you have chosen for debugging are saved. So here in this launch.json, I can see the configuration. The name of the configuration is g++.exe, which is the same name here, right? And you can provide multiple configurations in this launch file. That's why you can give the name to every configuration. The type is cpp dbg for cpp debugger. Request is launch, and then which file you want to launch. This means we are in the current directory, and the file name is the same name as your cpp file name .exe file. And you can see which debugger you are using, GDB, and then you have the debugger path. So in our case, this debugger path is at this location. So all the information about your debugger is there in your launch.json file. So you can always change this configuration if you want to use some other debugger, right? Let's say Microsoft debugger. You can change this path for the debugger from here and then use the other debugger, right? You also have this tasks.json file where you will be able to see the commands. You can see the command which is going to be used to run your program. g++.exe file is there, and then you will be able to see the options for compiling or building your C++ code here. So let's say I want to run my debugger once again. So from the next time, I can just click on this green start debugging button, and it's going to start my code in the debugging mode. So now once again you can see I am in the debugging mode. So this is how you can set up Visual Studio Code for C and C++ development on your Windows 11 operating system. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video.